NewsBiscuit. Real fake news.
Welcome to NewsBiscuit, the UK's original fake news. NewsBiscuit, none of the popularity of the NHS, but all of the sickness. I'm your host, Wrenfoe, and I'm joined by the founding members of the Bay City Rollers. Bernard Castle.
Morning.
MikeB.
Morning.
And Chris F.
Morning.
And poor old Kit Caboodle, who would be with us today but can't be. Kit offers up her apologies. That does mean that technically we're 25% less funny than we would be normally, but I'm looking at you three and I'm thinking that number is probably closer to 50%. We'll see how we go. This month, Boris likens the war in Ukraine to Brexit, but with less casualties. While the fate of Chelsea Football Club is to be decided by penalties, mainly financial.
Very good.
I like the supportive very good there, Chris. I need that early on in the episode. It's like, positive reinforcement, thank you. Nice to get feedback. Right, okay. So that brings us to our first round, News in Brief, where our panelists select their favourite headlines. Chris F., we're going to start with you. What do you have?
Ed Sheeran trial. Jury members to receive specialist help after everything they've had to listen to.
Poor old Ed. He becomes a bit of a punchline. But, I mean, to be fair to him, he's the best of a bad bunch, isn't he, of kind of modern musicians?
And he means well as well, doesn't he?
Yes.
Well.
Yeah,
He's a worthy chap.
Yeah, and he gets extra points for being ginger, doesn't he? That's a tough gig to be an international sort of sex symbol and ginger at the same time.
He likes Elton John as well, and nobody likes Elton John.
Not even Elton John. Elton John just sits in a darkened room, just weeping with regret. Yeah, did anyone like the Elton John Ed Sheeran Christmas mashup song, whatever it was?
No.
I think you're going to need more than 4 people on this podcast to get a yes answer to that question.
Is that how sampling works? Yeah, if you get a negative response from the sample you've got, you just ask more people until eventually someone says yes.
Jacob Rees-Mogg leads convoy of penny farthings delivering gruel to refugees in Poland.
I like it.
Mystery allotment glows as the plot thickens.
I think I was responsible for that one, so I may cut that one for the final edit because I'm not sure it's funny enough. On paper, it gets a bigger laugh. And that's my excuse, but yeah, thanks for that.
It's one of those nodding. Yeah, it's one of those nodding ones. Like yes, very good.
Again, he's done well, but I'm not really laughing.
Shane Warne, bold at 52. A bit of a sad one there, but worth marking.
I always used to get him mixed up with Steve Irwin. I find the two completely hard to distinguish. So whenever I saw Shane Warne sort of bowling, I was always expecting to wrestle one of the other cricketers to the ground and shove his thumb up their butts, just as Steve Irwin would do.
That's what he did in the bar afterwards, wasn't he? Well, he could have a few beers and he'd be in for it.
Final one from me, a bit of a longer one. I chose not to consult householder and will pay 1% proceeds in compensation, says burglar. In recognition for the fact that my actions were illegal, I'm happy to comply with legal penalties, and actually I'm going to give them £50 I got for their DVD collection.
Now, this is a veiled reference, isn't it, to the P&O? Is it a scandal, is it, I guess? Where P&O have just basically sacked all their staff just like that without any kind of consultation. And the guy, he was up before the select committee, wasn't he? The chairman or whatever. And he completely brazened it out. The guy...
He did. He went in, and he said, that's it. It was illegal. Sorry, guys, but if I had my time again, I'd do it again. It was completely outrageous.
That's just how I roll.
Didn't they use the old Radio Caroline defence and say, look, we're offshore, so fuck off. We can do what we like. And that was basically it.
They should go one step further, just pretend to be pirates. We made them walk the plank. Anything's legal if you do it in a Somerset accent.
Sometimes in these things, they sort of say, oh, now you mention it, yes, maybe we should have done that. But he was like, nope, we didn't. Of course we didn't. They would have said no. Of course they would have said no. Why would we have done that? Maybe this is the way forward. Maybe you're going to see in these select committees now, instead of these bosses turning up there and they're just sort of embarrassed, shame, when they get asked these questions. I see your tax bill is very low this year. Well, of course it is. We've tried everything we can to avoid paying any tax. That's why we move to countries where there's minimal tax regimes.
You can use the tactic in relationships as well. Yes, of course I slept with your sister. That's just what I do.
Do you think there's any defence? Do you think you could turn around and just say, well, I assume that now that Boris is at the helm, that we've sort of done away with all of these kind of protections, that we thought we got rid of union? No.
Well, the curious thing I heard, because of course initially everyone's going, well, this is a result of Brexit, but it turns out it was actually a piece of EU legislation that was brought in that weakened the strength of the unions with regards to this kind of action. So for all our Brexit doom and gloom, this is definitely on the EU, this one.
That's great.
Yeah, that's great, says Mike. I voted Brexit and now I'm really pleased. This is the dividend I wanted, just to feel right. Bernard.
Russia tries to secure Ukraine's Eurovision vote. General explained, our tanks are merely a representative of our commitment to pansexual music competitions, eye-catching flak jackets and totalitarian regimes.
That would be actually, that sounds so in keeping with Putin, who's always so open to the idea of pansexuals and what have you. Did you see in the news that this is brilliant? I mean, I found it funny, is that Putin's endorsing J.K. Rowling. Did you see that? Because J.K. Rowling's quite angry about sort of transsexuals, and Putin's gone at one of his conferences. Despite the fact there's a war going on, he's gone, and I support J.K. Rowling in her struggle. And J.K. Rowling's like, oh shit, I'm being endorsed by Putin. Have I lost the moral high ground here slightly?
Well, she did kick back though, didn't she? And pointed out that as someone who is murdering loads of innocent civilians and children.
She's murdering innocent civilians and children, you're saying?
Haven't you read Harry Potter?
Yes.
Yeah. If you think about it, if Putin didn't have a nose,
I know.
He is. Yeah. He is. Johnson outsources Syrian conflict to Al Qaeda in a triumph of capitalism. Al Qaeda offers an affordable, psychotic, and deregulated alternative, a paper bullet scheme. Pope embarks on his world tour of apology.
Yeah, very good. Yes. He's got a lot. That will be a long tour. That'll be a long tour lasting many months.
What's the Catholic Church got to apologise for? What are you implying?
Well, the papal spokesman said, it's easier if we just apologise for everything, though we had nothing to do with Tony Blair becoming a Catholic. Next one, hobbits to be culled. Which is an item from the New Zealand Parks and Wildlife Commission to exterminate the halfling pests once and for all.
Well, they do breed like rabbits, don't they?
They do, and they have hairy feet.
Yeah, they have hairy feet. And, if you've got a vegetable patch, they will go through it in seconds. Particularly mushrooms, I hear.
I've also heard it said that they give TB to cows. Is that not true?
Yes, and you don't want to know how they do that, Mike. It's really unsavoury. They are horny little so-and-sos. They have to stand on a bucket to do it. But, it's not nice.
Like a chihuahua surfacing a wolf.
That's a great phrase.
That is a good one.
I'm going to have that as my Grindr status. Thank you.
That's next week's T-shirt sort.
Yeah.
And finally,
I'm sorry.
Is it over yet?
No, I'm still keeping it.
Church offers unsecured, low-cost salvation. You'll have the opportunity to offload short-term guilt, but that will be set against the risk of eternal damnation. So basically, you can negotiate what happens in the afterlife, which is not dissimilar to what happens, as I understand, when you go to confession. But
yeah, I was going to say that is the arrangement, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Mike, what have you got?
This week, Zelensky cynically using his platform to break into Hollywood, Tom Cruise claims. having had the short guy in a plain T-shirt with something about him thing sewn up for decades, Cruise was clearly feeling the heat this week.
There's an awful lot of people online who talk about it like it's a movie. There's a certain demographic of women who are obsessing with having his babies. Because it's like turning to your husband and say, well, John, I never found you attractive until Russia invaded you. And now I find you devastatingly erotic.
Competent under fire in his fitted T-shirt. There's something about it.
He would have to do the Tom Cruise sort of standard where he runs really fast at a ridiculously fast pace,
or bouncing on a sofa next to Oprah Winfrey. Wasn't that the thing that saw? Getting very excited. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's the next twist. I mean, maybe we discover this guy's a Scientologist, and that leading Ukraine to victory against Russia is just one of the many steps in order to find out kind of the inner secrets of the aliens, whoever it is that have. I don't understand Scientology. Am I close to what it is? I don't know.
I have no idea. I don't even know how to spell it. I don't know.
I just like the fact it's got science in the title, because that gives it an air of authenticity that the other religions don't have.
Well, I think it's the ethology that gives it the air of respectability.
Yeah. I saw the Louis Theroux thing. I mean, it's all about levels. I think there's these different levels of something. It's a bit like a platform game, I think, on the Xbox or something. You get into different levels, and that gives you access to all sorts of nonsense, basically.
Well, hold on. The way you're describing it, I'm in. This sounds brilliant. I like the idea of leveling up. And is there an end boss you get to? You have to. You meet God, but you have to defeat him. Is that the
That's
final?
right. Yeah, you meet God and have to defeat him, but you can do that as long as you have your credit card, a hefty donation.
Excellent.
Didn't they have cruise ships?
Was it Tom Cruise ship?
No, back in the early days of Scientology, wasn't? Is it Hubbard? And he had he had a cruise ship, and he had lots of attractive young ladies who were servicing his every need. Everybody that joined the religion had to give a load of money to him.
Maybe they could help. He's an oligarch. To be fair, you're quite dismissive. You said, we had a cruise ship, packed with young nubile women to service his needs. That's the point of having a cruise ship, Mike. Sorry, that's why you have a cruise ship. There's no other point. You're not fishing. Cruise ships are wasted on you, Mike. I'm taking it back.
Also, the week reports that London homes overvalued by 50%, although I don't see why we would trust an American rapper to value our housing stock.
Oh, no. 50 Cent, is he still a thing? Is he a thing? He's not a thing. He still exists, but is he still famous?
I don't know. I mean, despite all my successes, I've still got love for the streets, and that's really where the reference comes from.
Well, you keep it real, don't you?
Always.
On your yacht.
It's cruise ship.
It's cruise ship, yeah.
No, but of course, this is a real story about the forthcoming kind of doom and gloom that all of the rug will be pulled out of the London house market once all the Russians are kicked out. Does
that collapse the housing market though, or does it just make the housing market more accessible for everyone else? How does it work? How does economics work? If anyone at home is listening to the podcast right now, could you write in? Because we're clueless.
Do you remember that wonderful speech that David Cameron made a few years ago? And he stood there and said,
I don't remember, like, they're all wonderful speeches by David Cameron. You're going to have to be more specific.
It was the one where he stood up and managed to keep a straight face when he said that wouldn't be the money laundering capital of the world, and they didn't want Russian dirty money in their city.
That was the speech you heard. If you saw the visuals, he was winking at the time and he had his fingers crossed. You've got to. There was a lot of physical stuff going on there.
It was sort of similar to the one where he said that he was going to clean up politics, which has gone very well.
He retired, didn't he?
He made an effort.
He did his bit.
He's working in a food bank now, isn't he? Which is top trolling. Because you're starving, your kids are on the breadline, and you come into a food bank and it's David Cameron sort of smugly giving you a bag of rice. You go, oh my God, it doesn't end. The humiliation doesn't end. He is rubbing my nose in austerity right now. Yeah, no, he's working in a food bank. He did lots of kind of photos of him in there posing next to food, which just was not the PR success that he was hoping for. I'll just put that out there.
Does he get the same sort of catharsis out of this as Tony Blair got out of joining the Catholic Church or wearing a horsehair shirt or whatever he has to do to sort of...
But it seems to me that the Tony Blairs and David Camerons of the world seem to be getting away very lightly. Cameron comes in, hundreds of thousands of people in poverty and what have you. Can you just spend a week handing out rice? Yeah, sure, that's fair. Tony Blair, I've destroyed an entire region of the world and there's 1 million people dead. Can you grow slightly longer hair? Yeah, I can go away and do that.
It was, I mean, in the Catholic Church, it was just multiples of reciting Hail Marys, though. That was the thing, whatever the size of the sin, it was, 100 Hail Marys, 1,000 Hail Marys. So Tony Blair is probably sitting there at home, he's been given... Hail Mary. Yeah, he's like, hey, Hail Mary, and, till the cows come home.
Well, how does he get to be on TV all the time? He should be just doing his Hail Marys. He shouldn't have time.
Lying about the war in Iraq. Okay, it's unfortunately it's 6 billion Hail Marys.
He will have subcontracted it to someone. He'll have somebody sits there all the time. He employs full time just to say Hail Marys because he hasn't got enough time.
It's the Al Qaeda bunch again, isn't it?
It is. It
It's them.
Absolutely.
Which is a double blow to Al Qaeda because I really don't think they wanted to be doing Hail Marys. I think that's against their brand, I'm guessing. But
I can't help but feeling that Chris has probably got away quite lightly with his experience of Catholicism as a child. But perhaps his priest just didn't find him that sexy.
Yeah, everyone else is coming out of the confessional crying, and I'm just coming out. What's the problem? 10 Hail Marys, guys. You know, I'm free. Impure thoughts. 20 Hail Marys. I'm out here.
Oh dear, we're going to get complaints, aren't we again? I must remember to turn off the comments section when we put these podcasts onto YouTube.
Comments, yeah, J. Hubbard, Esquire. I really didn't like your points about Scientology.
Oh dear.
Yeah, where are we up to? Sorry, Mike, are you still doing stuff? Right. Okay.
Yes, I am. Sorry, I got a little bit lost there. A short one for you here. Half of Britons vow to use less plastic in 2022, which just sounds like a shit version of Lent. Where's the kind of blowout at the end? That's what I'd like to know. Because ordinarily you do Lent and you give up drink or you give up buggery or whatever it is you decide to give up.
Well, those two things are very closely connected. I'll be honest, Mike. If it wasn't for the drink, the other thing wouldn't happen.
And then, of course, at the end, that's it. You head to the pub or what have you. And I just wonder what happens after a year of not using any plastic.
I guess you put like plastic straws in every orifice, do you?
Yeah, wear bin liners all day, that kind of thing. You mean?
That's a bold look.
Or just fill a supermarket trolley with unnecessarily shrink wrap cucumbers, something like that. Right, next up, Prince Andrew has thrown his vast military experience into the war in Ukraine.
I could just imagine him in a war zone going, follow me, women and children first. And everyone going, oh no, that is a red flag right there. Our next round is True Biscuit, where our panel has to guess which is a real headline and which is a fake one.
A Florida driver blames Putin for speeding. A man caught speeding in Florida told police he was driving so fast because he was worried about Vladimir Putin's nuclear threats.
You see, in my mind, when you first said the headline, I just had this image that Putin was in the back seat of the car, egging him on.
Go faster.
Yeah, we need to get to the Ukrainian border and we're in Florida. This is no good. Go faster.
He told cops, I just found out that Putin said he's going to launch nuclear thermal war against the world. And I was trying to get back to my house to find out what's going on. I'm freaking out. End of quote.
I think you can see all these lawyers that you see advertising to help you get off your speeding charges will be right on this.
They always say that thermonuclear war is basically the last resort. But also, it clearly, as Chris is suggesting, it's the last resort of someone in court trying to get off a driving charge. You just go nuclear. It's the advice from the lawyer.
I think it's true.
Yeah, I'm going to go true.
In fact, it is actually completely true. And he received a $100 fine.
Chris, what's your one?
A study finds that rats de-stress after perfecting a new skill like driving.
Are these the rats in the car with the guy who's speeding to get to Putin? This is an amazing story. And they de-stress when they've learnt to drive.
So researchers...
Hold on, Chris. How skilled are rats getting these days that they've mastered? What other things have they mastered?
Yeah.
Well, researchers at the University of Richmond wanted to figure out if animals like rats were able to complete complex driving tasks driving a vehicle. So they constructed these special tiny cars for the rats with made out of transparent plastic containers, modelled on a larder, I believe.
Okay.
Let
me interrupt you there. You said they were trying to find out if rats could drive like other animals. What the fuck? What other animals have you got driving cars?
You're not seeing horses.
Horses.
He was having to weave through the traffic because there were gazelles driving Land Rovers and giraffes and minis with their heads sticking out the roof and what have you. What? There are other animals driving?
I can help support Chris in this one because I saw a goldfish driving this week. And that was...
No, you didn't. You were drunk. Can we just say that now? Any kids listening at home, don't do drugs, kids. It's not clever. Mike, you did not see a goldfish driving.
I honestly did. And it's this weird... It wasn't the University of Richmond. I think it was a proper university that was doing this. Because, I mean, who is the University of Richmond? The only thing they've ever produced before is sausages. This was a proper university with proper equipment, and they had a goldfish tank with sensors. So when the goldfish swims up to a certain part of the tank, it steers the vehicle in that direction. So I think the rats could certainly, it's not beyond the capability of rats to either drive or to feel satisfied.
Look, none of these scientists aware of congestion charges in London. This is madness. All these
this is very similar. It's very similar to Mike's. It's obviously a sort of longitudinal study involving many different species by the looks of things, because it's very similar. The cars were equipped with an aluminium floor and very tiny sort of wheels, and the steering wheel was made out of copper bars that they had to sort of stand on to get it move. And they even sort of incentivized them with, they put Cheerios in places to get them to sort of move into particular areas and propel the vehicle in various directions as a reward to motivate them. And I understand by the end of the experiment, the rats were even doing that thing where they do a double flash to other drivers, in the car to sort of say thank you for letting them out, You
see, now I'm doubting the existence of self-drive cars now, because I think what's happening is they've got goldfish and rats in the bonnet of the car who's doing all the work for you. There's not a computer. It's just, you've wired up a tortoise or something. And the added humiliation is, of course, I don't drive. So it now turns out the entire animal kingdom has evolved beyond me.
Is this because you're not as motivated by Cheerios?
Yes.
Is there some sort of vehicle that we could find to motivate you fully?
Donuts on a fishing wire just dangled in front of my face. That would do it. Or sort of, pornography from the 1970s. Yeah, what a waste of time and resources, quite frankly. And your point is as well that they're at the end of the whole process, they're suddenly de-stressed. It's like
they're de-stressed. They go off. They get out their car, lock it up, and go and sit down on a nice, comfy chair somewhere. I think. So
now, were these animals? Were they stressed before they did the whole experiment, or did the stress really kick in when they were put in this little box?
I think they stressed them out beforehand. So they sent them around a trip around the M25 or something, in rush hour. Got them really sort of wound up.
With those signs above you that says there's an obstacle in the road, but you've already been past the obstacle, and you're like, don't you know which way the road goes? I've been past the obstacle.
I'm somewhat sceptical about this. I wonder how they know that the rat is not stressed out anymore. I've been stressed and sat on comfy chairs before, so I don't think that's evidence in itself.
Well, if it's a lab which has sort of mice and rats in it, I suspect you could see they're less stressed by the amount of cigarettes they're smoking.
I think that's a different lab, Neil.
I bet it's not. These chain smoking rats. Yeah, I'll drive a car. I'll do anything. Packet of Woodbines.
I'm torn, like Natalie Imbruglia on this one.
What a great reference to the early 1990s.
Let's say it's true.
It is amazingly true from a story from 2019, reported in the Mirror, where I get all my NewsBiscuit type stories from. And
it's the best science journal out there, the Mirror.
Exactly. It's peer reviewed, particularly, and the University of Richmond appears very often in there, along with their sausage based studies. As well, highly reported.
You're not doing the University of Richmond's full title, is it? It's the online University of Richmond. I think you're right. They're always the most reputable.
In brackets, 80% meat content or whatever, or maybe it's less than.
Mike, what about you?
Jesus was in my wardrobe, so I'm running for office.
Now, Mike, is this a direct confession yourself, or this is the story that you found?
No, I don't believe that Jesus exists.
Well, have you checked your wardrobe? that's the first thing. That's what
he's always hiding behind those chino slacks. It's the last place you always look like.
And he was the son of a carpenter, and a wardrobe is where you would find him.
The evidence is mounting up.
I can't really necessarily visualize a Jesus because it's a bit weird. But now at least I have the smell of Jesus, because I'm thinking it's those kind of lavender bags that you have in wardrobes with your socks.
I'm thinking, it's the second part of the story that intrigues me. So Jesus was in my wardrobe, so I decided to go to office. That first bit's fine, totally fine with that. What blows
your mind is that someone would run for public office in this day and age.
What were they convinced by? Was it his miracle? Like, this guy managed to turn 2 loaves of bread and 5 fish into a massive meal. I could roll this out on a.
I don't think it's the miracle Jesus does anymore. I think he rearranges your socks to make sure that they match up, which in itself is a significant miracle.
It's a miracle, yeah.
He has to work with what's on hand. There are no loaves of fishes in my wardrobe. He's just working through old t-shirts.
That's no miracle. He's just got some of the nice dividers from IKEA. He just plops them in there. He is
the chosen one with his dividers. And yea, it is said that some will be divided and others will be unified.
I've actually got a dehumidifier in my wardrobe, so if he was in there, he'd have sorted the damp out, wouldn't he? And
maybe that's what Jesus looks like now, Mike. Who's to say what the second coming is? He could choose to take any form he wanted.
He's got his 12 apostles in there, presumably, as well. They're sort of hiding behind the sort of jumpers and then those sort of tracksuit bottoms that you only wear when you're decorating, Mike. He's got there's Peter there, betraying him, every day by not folding the shirts properly and stuff.
3 times in a row, I told you. He never did it.
This is a female candidate, and she has prophetic dreams.
Pathetic ones or prophetic?
Prophetic dreams.
Oh, okay.
Where she could see herself as a political candidate actually in office. Luckily, her son Ezekiel is a seer.
No, sorry. What's the name of her son?
Son Ezekiel.
Ezekiel. It's obviously a big Bible family.
A biblical name. Yeah.
Ezekiel is a seer. And so she went and asked him, and she said, "Can you sense anything in your closet where I was praying? Is it an angel that you can see?" And the son, who should be in care, the son said, "No."
This anecdote is now longer than the Book of Genesis. You do know that now, Mike.
Exactly.
You've now.
I'm fleshing this out for you. So
you are definitely. And I imagine it's going to upset a lot of Christian fundamentalists in America to know that Jesus came out of the closet.
She said, "Is it an angel?" And he said, "No, it's somebody else." And she said, "Well, who is it? What's the name they give him?"
Jesus.
No, the other one. Think through what he's called in the Bible. Emmanuel. So it's Emmanuel with a scroll. Yeah,
wasn't that someone in like a porn movie? Emmanuel. That's the only Emmanuel I know. Isn't that
it's what we call him at Christmas, isn't it? The rest of the time
it's Santa. Don't we call Jesus Santa at Christmas? I don't understand any of this religion at all.
I think it's probably completely made up.
It's a true story. I hope it's true. I'd like Jesus appearing in your wardrobe. I think this is a new business opportunity for IKEA. They really need to get onto this and start taking advantage of it.
It's 100% true. Rachel.
Well, no, it isn't, Mike. It's not 100% true. She's sure Jesus did not appear in her closet.
Rachel Hamm is a Republican candidate for Secretary of
State
in California.
What a surprise! Of course she is. There's even Scientologists distancing themselves from this story, going, "That's too implausible."
She'd previously taken some credit for the murder of a witch in her local area. She wasn't directly involved because she's not a psycho. But she had prayed for this witchcraft to end, and it did in the murder of somebody that may or may not have been a witch.
What?
Oh, good. Nice to go back to Salem. Good old times.
What I've got is the headline: Primark launches Greg's clothing range.
What? Everyone dressed like a pasty?
Well, the range includes socks adorned with sausage rolls and hoodies emblazoned with the famous Greggs logo.
And they'd smell of pastry as well, wouldn't they?
They would smell of pastry.
To be honest, that has never stopped me wearing clothes at all, Mike. If anything, that is my default aroma, is that of pastry. Does it go the other way then? Are Greggs doing, food shaped like pants?
No, over really oversized sort of onesies or something.
Yes, everything's oversized because people from Greggs are buying it.
Is this then the first time of a clothing range then that has a food logo on it? I can't think of it. Oh, Fruit of the Louvre. That's the other one. Yeah. I don't think that's a thing. So you can get a much cheaper effect in the way that I do it. I just go in with just kind of normal clothing into Greggs. I eat a lot, and then I've dropped a significant number of crumbs and bits of the food that it looks like I'm wearing that kind of branding.
It wouldn't have the Greggs logo on it, would it? You just look like a.
You could put a bit of the paper wrapper that you get. You could stick that on as well for authenticity.
you could maybe. I'm sure some people have done that. Yeah.
I was going to say, what's the M&S equivalent? Because it's M&S, isn't it? They do food and they do clothes.
They do both.
That's a terrible example. Why was I thinking M&S?
It's true.
I just really hope that it's false. It's wrong on so many levels. I think people dress down too much. I think we should all be slightly more formal in our approach to life. Says a man sat in his pants.
But Mike, you are what you eat. So surely we should just have that advertised on our T-shirt.
If we become any more slovenly, we'll turn into Americans and start seeing Jesus in the closet.
It's absolutely true.
Right, Chris, have you got another one?
Man applauded for brutally honest list of housemate demands. These included someone who smokes outside, but then additionally, no paedophiles. He would also consider computer hackers. I don't want anyone who makes any eye contact, and please no boring or polite casual conversations.
And what he said? He said he wanted people that smoke outdoors. So does it mean if you don't smoke, you've got to start smoking so he can watch you smoking outside?
Yeah, only people who smoke a minimum of 20 cigarettes outdoors. He says also he doesn't want people with too many guests popping in or out, and ideally someone who would spend all of their time in their room, obviously apart from the times that they're smoking outside.
I like the no eye contact bit though. I've got a friend of mine who's at uni and he had a shared room at uni, and the roommate he was with was a fairly odd individual, to say the least. And this is something that happened more than once. He would wake up in the middle of the night and find his roommate sitting on the end of his bed, just staring at him. And I can say in those moments, no eye contact is probably the way to go. Just pretend it didn't happen.
Actually, in many ways, the request for no eye contact makes me think that this man might be looking for love.
Is that what you look for, Mike? When you look for love, is no eye contact? Because I'm fairly sure that's not standard.
No, I think there's something about it.
There's something about it you find attractive, is it, Mike?
There's something about that request that I just think he's making these specific demands because he's looking for a partner, a life partner.
I think it's no eye contact because he's there naked all the time in the flat. It's just
please don't look
at me.
Please don't look.
Mike,
true.
Because you're looking for love, and he could be the one, right? Okay.
Since you stay on the call afterwards, I'll send you the details, any details that I've got of this mic, and you can, where the webpage that I got it from, and you can look into it further.
I really, really hope it's true.
Please not for the same reason that Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely the same. Absolutely the same.
He's a catch. He's a catch.
Totally true. And I wonder, there should be a follow up letting you know how he's got on.
Yeah, how it all worked out.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice quick one for you. Free range eggs run out.
Do we know why? Does it say why?
I like the idea that there are free range chickens who are then deliberately laying battery eggs. That they can choose to switch it on and off. Yeah, I may be free range, but the egg isn't.
Yeah, they're on strike. I mean, they've taken action. We'll just do battery ones now. You've got to meet our demands. I think this might be a bird flu type. Situation.
But wouldn't this just happen on like a rainy day? All the chickens are ranging around, but then it's a rainy day. They all go indoors. Then technically they're not ranging anymore, and those eggs are no longer. I mean, free range is a curious thing, isn't it? Because it implies the chicken is roaming around, not the egg itself.
Yeah.
The egg is always laid undercover, isn't it? So the egg is not the free range part; it's what the chicken's doing. So then, are we talking about a scenario where the chickens are just no longer bothering to walk as far, and they're technically not free range? Do they have to do a certain number of miles? Have they got little pedometers on them, the chickens?
So you think if it rains, they stop ranging? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I would. On a rainy day, I don't necessarily go out for a walk. To be fair, I don't go out for walks. But I mean, I've heard other people walk, and if it was raining, that would put me off.
It's the opportunity to free range, I suppose, that's possible. I mean, they may spend most of their time inside. They may be like, well, I can't be arsed.
Well, they're hacking. They're hacking 9 to 5 and not making eye contact with other chickens. That's what goes on.
Going outside for a smoke, aren't they?
Yeah, that's the only time they go out. Yes.
Driving around in cars that they've designed.
I wonder whether the University of Richmond has ever done any studies on what the difference is between a free range egg and a not free range egg. I mean, what's the difference in taste?
I don't know. I mean, I've got a few children. Okay, I'm confessing that now. And my lovely wife, she gave birth. Obviously, I didn't do that. And I can remember definitely there was one of them she was moving around a lot more during the birthing, and one she was laying down a bit more. And I must say, the kid that she moved around a lot more, that is the better kid.
This is a classic. I mean, this is a classic University of Richmond experiment. I mean, are you sure you're not on the payroll?
Whereas the one when she laid down, that kid doesn't taste even as nice as the other one at all.
What a study! We took 2 children from and one family, and to test this out, and conclusively proved.
I think it's probably true, and I think it's probably to do with bird flu.
Yeah, I'm going to go true as well.
Absolutely true. All to do with bird flu, and all of the hens are going to be locked up inside, having a miserable time for the rest of 2022. It's their lockdown.
Finally, we reached the magic 8 ball.
The magic 8 ball!
Each of our guests is going to give us their predictions for next month's news.
Conservatives despise cancel culture and so defend an independent BBC.
Home Office speeds up the processing of visa applications from Ukrainian refugees by installing more shredders.
Chris?
I think we're finally going to see more companies doing what petrol companies do, repricing their products every single hour of the day. So Wetherspoons, I think, instead of £3.20 a pint, will go for £3.19.7. Massive beer pumps maybe on the forecourt, and you can just go in there and start sort of filling yourself up, to take advantage of, the low prices.
And that brings us to the end of the episode. And I can reveal that this month's winner is anyone who is hoping for a big news story that would distract from their Downing Street party. I'd like to thank our guests, Bernard Castle.
Goodbye.
MikeB.
Pip.
And Chris F.
Goodbye.
And I leave you with these headlines. This year's most popular Mother's Day's present, petrol. Winter Olympics latest, Team GB skating on thin ice. And proctologist denies that he was in Putin's inner circle.
You've been listening to NewsBiscuit. NewsBiscuit is not only free for all readers, but we also accept submissions from any budding satirists, young or old. Visit newsbiscuit.com to submit headline stories and to support new writers.
NewsBiscuit. Real fake news.
Good.
Now, whose stupid idea was it to have a podcast at this time in the morning?
Well,
this is a dreadful idea. I went to a concert last night. I don't normally go to concerts. I didn't get back to 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm shattered.
Yeah, how was the concert? Was good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I went to see Genesis.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
No.
Yes, I travelled back to 1970 and I went to see Genesis. They're on my bucket list of people to see before they die, which is the other reason I'm having this podcast for you guys today. I just want to have a memory of the 3 of you before before the accident. I've said too much. Sorry.